Sean, we're live.
Hello,
How are
hello.
you?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Great to see you. Yeah, my name is Ching Juhl, and I do this interviewing people and chatting with people once a week. And today we have a very special guest, Sean Juhl. We have the same last name. So you figured he is my son.
hmm
And yeah, and Sean has recently moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He just graduated from college and he landed himself a nice job. So, Sean, tell us a little bit about Pittsburgh.
It's a
You've
nice
been,
town.
yeah, you've been there for several months now.
Yeah, it's a nice town. Pretty well, smaller than New York for sure, but it's got a lot of really nice neighborhoods and restaurants. The downtown is very compact, so it's basically just the arts center where the hall is for the symphony and a bunch of other smaller things. Um, it's a nice town. I wish it was easier to get around a little bit, at least for me because I don't have a car, but I can take the bus everywhere or the Uber, and it's okay.
So, tell us, some people may not know that you took an audition last year. Is it last? Was it last year? And then you won the position, which is playing the viola at the Pittsburgh Symphony. So it is not easy for any auditions, right? And so, what you think make yourself like? How did you prepare for this? And can you give us a little bit tips?
Sure. I think there's definitely an element of like the right time and the right place. A lot of things came together um, that were very fortunate to help me get to where I did. Um, yeah, the process was pretty stressful and like it wasn't expected for this to be the result, but it ended up being okay. Um, I think the probably the biggest help was that the summer before I took the audition, so that would have been summer of 2021. I did a program called the Music Academy of the West in California, and there I got to work with some really awesome like orchestral teachers one on one for a couple weeks, and this was for a separate project, but it really helped um, lock in some key concepts for excerpts that were really helpful for me later on when I did the actual audition.
So for audition, any orchestra audition, pretty standard is you play three runs, right? The first run could be as many as 100 people play, and then shrink to second round, perhaps 20 people or 10, right? It depends. And a lot of times first round, second round, all behind the screen. So tell us, after you play the first round, how did you feel? Did you feel really good and very confident you're going to get into second round?
Uh, Not really. No, it was like every round was pretty nerve wracking. I wasn't expecting anything at any stage of the process. Um, but I did know that I played pretty decent by my standards, I guess, at least for the first couple rounds. Um, the worst part was probably the waiting after, because you play and then you go into this big room and you sit for 3 hours basically waiting for the results. And so it was a lot of time just to sit there and think about every maybe tiny mistake or you know slightly off tempo or anything. So that was probably the most nerve wracking part.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've done some. I'm a violist too. For some of you don't know, and now Sean is taking the torch of viola, and he has my violas, and yeah, I remember it was very very nerve wracking, and every run has different criteria. The first round, you have to place the material so precise It's not looking for, they're not looking for like too much of musicianship yet, the showmanship. So it's just you have to be accurate. You cannot make, mistakes. And then second round, maybe, play different repertoire from the first round, right? And the last round, you can show some of your musicianship. Is that correct?
Uh,
Like you can be more elaborate, like when you play your solo.
I guess so, but I think you should be able to show that musicianship at any point for any
Hmm.
ex. Yeah, I guess you play through more of your solo stuff in the last round just because there's more time
Hmm.
for the individual person.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't say that it would be like more for the final round. It has to be, pretty intense for the whole process.
Hmm. Yeah, very good. So, how is life in general in Pittsburgh? Like, what is the criteria for you when you look for an apartment?
It's really great. Yeah, I shouldn't complain too much because it's a nice town, and I really love the place that I chose to settle down in. It was kind of strange for me, that process, because this was the first time I really tried to look anywhere for a place. In school, in college, I lived in the dorms for 2 years, so it was pretty like you get what you get. And then I had to move home for the last 2 years because of COVID. So this was the first time I'd ever done apartment searching or even had to think about things like where is the place you're going to live, or like how close is it to like a grocery store or restaurants, anything like that. Um, and I talked to a lot of people in the orchestra who were really helpful. They said maybe I should live downtown, like right next to the hall, because a lot of people who are new to the orchestra do that. But I didn't want to live like right next to work, sort of have like it just be the same thing as like when I was in the dorms at school. So I wanted to be a little bit away. So it took me a couple weeks, a couple months to find out specifically what would work for me, and but I'm happy that I took that time.
And it's very interesting. One of the criteria you really want, you want to share with us?
Yeah, I was having a gas stove.
That's awesome.
Being in New York, like I just sort of assumed that every place had gas, because even every single one of my friends' apartments, basically when I would go there, they would have a gas stove. Um, but I think it makes sense. Like they're kind of bad for the environment and give you cancer and all sorts of stuff. But I really enjoy cooking on gas. So when I was looking, like maybe 70% of the places I was looking at didn't have a gas stove. It was all electric. So it really narrowed where I wanted to stay.
Yeah, and lots of new buildings, right? They have electrical because it's safer,
Yeah, it
right?
makes. But yeah, I was being picky. So,
Yeah, I want to say hello to our friend in the audience, Colette. Hi, how are you? I want to see more. I did not know when you got on they have advertisements. So he's watching advertisement. So yeah, let's rewind a little bit. Now, people people who do not play music or study music as a career may not know the role from beginning to getting a professional orchestra job or become a soloist or playing string quartet or teaching the college. Those are the options for musicians are incredibly difficult, and it's almost like get into sports like an NBA or football team, and it's only one out of I don't know thousands people can accomplish that. So Sean, let's go back to a little bit about your beginning of your learning music. So tell us a little bit about how old you started and the journey, like from beginning to the, I guess, middle school. How was that like?
uh, yeah, it's a while ago, so I can really think. Um, yeah, I mean, I had I was very fortunate that you and Dad put me into like a musical middle school, so I had the opportunity to take lessons all throughout that period of my life. Um,
Primary school.
sure, primary school.
Yeah.
Um, but when I transferred to my high school in like seventh grade, I basically stopped taking lessons for a year, just because they weren't available. And from like 13, 14, 15, it was kind of like I didn't know if I was going to even continue playing for a while, just because it was like, what's the point? If there's so many other things going on, I could, do all these other paths. Um, and part of it, I think the reason that I continued was because I joined the school orchestra at Hunter. So with my teacher, Mr. Stratachuk, who was there, and he suggested that I go to this camp called Kinhaven for a summer, which was in Vermont, in the middle of nowhere. This like small community of like maybe 50 kids and like a
I
couple.
I remember that you didn't want to go because the summer camp is like 6 weeks. You've never left home for 6 weeks. So that I think that you were like 13 or something, between
Yeah,
13 and 14. So I was like, no, you have to go. And we already, I think that we applied for scholarship. You received a partial scholarship. So you went, and I did not go see you only at the fifth week. So it took like 5 hours driving from Manhattan to Vermont. It's in Vermont, called a town called Weston. That town only have one store, which is called Vermont Country Store, and it's very famous because they have a catalog. You can order things from the country store. And so anyway, I went there, and it was pretty interesting. Like, I went to look for you and found you in one of the practice room, and you said the first thing to me. Do you remember?
no,
You said, "Mom, I'm serious about music."
hmm,
That was very, very revelation for me, because first time hear you say that. Do you know why you feel like you are serious about music, even if you did not remember you said that? I remember. Hey, Nora. Hey, Claudia. Oh my God. Hey, Mark. Uh, and a lot of people are here. Hi, Nick. Hi, Colette. And want to see more. Let's see who else is here. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, so do you think, do you have like a memory of what made you feel that you're serious about music when you're 13?
well, I think before that, I'd only played ever like by myself. You know, like at the previous school, it was just like you only do solo stuff. So I would just practice by myself, and then like once or twice a year, I would play like in a recital or something. And that was the only experience I had of like music making, which is very like centered and kind of static, boring. Um, and I guess you have to do that to like start out, but it wasn't that appealing to me, and I think I was getting kind of burned out. But at Kinhaven, it was the first time I actually met other, kids who were really passionate about doing orchestra and chamber music, and they really, love what they did and would want to talk about it. And I was sort of like clueless, but I, learned a lot from them and also the teachers, even though they were all the same age as me. Um, and it was just very wholesome, like experience to be there for a summer also, because we live in the city. We, don't really get to go out and touch grass or like see nature, but you
Oh,
learn a
you
lot.
have all be you, everyone has to be barefoot. Remember?
Yeah, everyone's barefoot for like 6 weeks straight. Even in the concerts. Uh, it's
Yeah, that's
it's
awesome.
there's a lot of things about Kinhaven that are like, if you talk about them, they seem really strange, but like when you're there, it's very um, comforting and really incredible environment. So
Organic.
yeah, I appreciate that experience.
And I remember when you're leaving, everybody write a letter to everybody, right?
Yeah,
Is it? Do
yeah,
you
everybody.
write to everyone or write to like your favorite person?
Well, Well, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't write them to someone you disliked, but I think the camp was pretty close knit. Like everybody was pretty much friends with each other, so yeah, you would write a short little letter to each person. So by the end, you'd maybe have like 20 or 30 letters, just like saying thank you for like experiences of the summer, or keep in touch, which is difficult during the regular year, but it was really sweet.
Yeah, I think one of the very impressive thing for me to see you guys is also the orchestra repertoire. You play Bach, right, Brandenburg, and you also play Mahler Symphony. You play Strauss. So I think all these orchestra concert or rehearsing really sort of opened your eyes in some way that you know in high school or middle school you don't have that caliber of performance level, right?
Well,
So yeah.
it wasn't necessarily that there wasn't that caliber. It's just like in the high school, there wasn't enough different instruments in the orchestra. There would be like 40 violins and then two violas and then maybe three cellos. And that's not the fault of like any particular person. It's just that it wasn't like a real orchestra in terms of like the balance of like instruments. But in Kinevin, yeah, they select people, or I guess they admitted people based on what they needed for the instrument. So there was a full symphonic group, even if they were like 13. They
Mm,
could play real music.
right. So I wanted to I wanted to play a very short excerpt because yeah, I'm going to tell the story afterwards, okay? And this is excerpts of I'm not even going to say that. It's very funny, okay?
Okay.
All right. I hope I'm not embarrassing you. Oh, here we go.
Some people like practice, but they just want to look good and say yes. But some people, they really do like it. And those people are freaks. But the people who don't like practice are cool because they have a right brain.
Oh, that's so funny. Anyway, yeah, so I made this documentary. Uh, that was my first work since I went to NYU, a film school, for a crash course. And the assignment is making one documentary and making one narrative work. And I only feel like I am able to only do one. So I went to Sean's school, which is a music school. It's the only kind in entire United States. It's called Special Music School of America, and you have to audition though. The audition is very difficult. And like 5 boroughs, open to 5 boroughs in New York, and only 15 students at that time were accepted. So I went to talk to these kids, and they all hate practicing. So so anyway, and then I interviewed them. So I asked Sean, and I said, "Can you let me interview?" So I left. I just had the camera rolling, so I left the other room, and then that's what he said. That's very funny. At certain point he said, "Can you not include this section?" I said, "No, that's very funny." So anyway, yeah, so let's fast forward a little bit of, speaking of practicing violin, practicing piano, practicing viola. It's not some kids like to do, right? So what is your transition from you do not like to practice, and now you practice even when you are a professional musician? Sometimes I say, let's do this, let's do that, and then you say, I have to practice. So can you give us a little spiel of how?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if I'd say I like enjoy it per se. Like it depends. It depends on the day. But it's definitely like if I have things I need to do, like if I have a goal or something, then I know that it's like something I have to do to get to that goal. Um, especially I think when you're younger, when there's not. Well, I wasn't like a prodigy or anything. Like I wasn't playing at a super high level when I was like 15 or 10 or something. So it was, I think, probably much harder for me to see like the long term goal of like what I needed to do with the practice. It was just like, this is something that my parents are making me do for an hour or two a day or something, when I could be doing literally anything else. But yeah, practicing is difficult. It's like you need to be in the right headspace and like be productive with your time. Otherwise, it's just like you're just making yourself sad. You're making everybody around you sad. I don't know. I think when I was at school, at least the last couple of years, that was like where I really learned how to treat it more of like, I don't know, like homework or like doing a job, basically. Like, and that made it a little bit more approachable for me. At least like if I had a list of things I needed to do, and I said, okay, each one of these things is going to take 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever. And then if I just, sit down, look at set a timer on the side, and then get these things done in as like efficient and painless way as possible, then by the end I'll have accomplished something. Um, but it's still like not really fun. It's like work, but
Yeah.
it makes it work.
Practice is solving problems, right? So if you just practice, play, and repeating the mistakes, that is not going to help much, right? So some people do not watch their posture or doing the wrong thing, and playing the string instrument requires so much. I would say physically has to be right, right? Physically, there's not too much room to wiggle around. Like left hand has to be this way, right hand has to be this way, cannot be this way, cannot be. Do you see it? Cannot be this way.
Well,
So yeah, there's just so many rules, and I mean those rules are set, I would say 200-300 years ago, but they are somewhat still workable, right? They have their own how to say, like um lasting life. It's not like you can change the way you're holding instrument. So tell us a little bit your learning. You are very very lucky, had many great teachers. So tell us a little bit. Say, Mr. Bosses.
yeah, it's a little bit hard for me to uh, remember that at least that far back. But I think he did give me a pretty, very solid technical foundation for violin. But I wouldn't say that I was super passionate about it personally at that time. So I don't think I got maybe as much out of it as I could have. Um, but he taught me how to basically hold the instrument, get a decent tone out of it, play passably in tune. And I think, yeah, it's just because I wasn't super like 110% on it all the
Mhm.
time. I didn't get more out of it, but I think he did a good job.
Yeah, Mr. Bosses, I'll just filling in a little bit. He is a Russian violin teacher, very strict, and he set really great, foundation for you. Yeah, but he was very strict, and I am very familiar with that kind of method because my teachers in China, they are they were studying with the Russian teachers. So Russian teachers are famous being strict and very very great pedagogy, and they are not necessarily like let you go with anything wrong, and some American teachers is different, right? Teachers are more encouraged, and they say, oh, good job, let's do it again, so yeah, so Mr. Bass is not like that. And tell us a little bit now how you change from playing the violin. You play the violin from 4 years old until 13, right?
Well, 16, right?
I think you when you go to King Heaven next year, second year, you start to play a little bit viola. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the second year was like
yeah,
2014 or 15
yeah,
or something.
yeah. Okay, 15. Okay.
But yeah, I think it was mainly a practical decision. Like
Uh-huh.
I looked at what I needed to do to become a really great. Like
Yeah.
I'd say I was like a pretty okay violinist, but I wasn't like really like a star or anything.
Yeah.
Um, if I think if I continued on the same path of like actually caring and like practicing
Yeah.
more, it probably could have turned out fine. But I think there was a couple conversations that we had at a certain point where it was like, because you were a violist, you had that experience of like it's just more, there's more opportunities available and more, um, I don't know, yeah, more opportunities available for violists just because there's less of them.
Mm.
So it's not like you can be like not very good and succeed, but it's like there's maybe a little bit more wiggle room in terms of like getting a job or I don't know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's put it that way. There are so many violinists. Yeah, people study violin. You very rarely you hear kids say, I play the viola. So the violin level overall is always very higher than cello or viola, right? Or double bass or string instruments. So, but violinists also the competition is greater, right? So for you to be on the top of a violinist, you have to work even harder, and you have to be so good to be able to so-called get jobs or playing, I mean, the first chair even in the orchestra, student orchestra. So I think at one point, I said to you, I say you need to play the viola because I play the viola, and your step grandma in China is a viola professor. I have all the and the resources, right? Music, CD, and I know teachers. So anyway, yeah, and you actually reluctantly like change, yeah. But once you play the viola, you got into so many high first-rate festivals. Once you play the viola, first of all, you got into Juilliard pre-college, yeah, and then you got into what? You got into Proman camp. You also was accepted by Heifetz, right? And then you got into New York, a youth orchestra, and then National Youth Orchestra. Not necessarily in that order. So tell us a little bit all these festivals, how they impact your learning and your relationship with the other musicians.
Yeah, I think the festivals are really the important thing for me in terms of like deciding that this was maybe something I wanted to pursue. Because before, if it was just like me playing by myself, I just, well, one, I wasn't that into it, so I guess not very, that wasn't that amazing. um, and two, it was just kind of like not that inspiring just to do solo stuff. So really the orchestra and the chamber programs were what allowed me to meet other kids who, like around the same age growing up with me, like were already super invested in music and really loved what they were doing, and I could learn so much from them. um, yeah, I mean, there it was also just like each of these programs had a different window into what it would be like to be a professional musician. Like New York Symphony, they had I think their big draw. I mean, it's a wonderful orchestra, but their big draw is that they get to play in Carnegie Hall, 3 times a year, which is nuts. So that's where I had my first experience of actually playing in Carnegie, was with them. Getting to hear what that sound is like, what the orchestra can sound like, or when you're in it, in a hall of that, that quality. Things like National Youth Orchestra even was like you got to meet so many people from across the country, not just New York, who all did music, all loved it, and then you got to travel together, go to different countries and meet new people. get all these different experiences that I probably never would have had if I didn't play an instrument. So it was just a really interesting view into like what that kind of life could be. So
What kind of orchestra countries you went with the National Youth Orchestra? Like, how many countries did you go?
I don't think I know the number, but I did 2 years of it, and the first year we went to Europe, so we did a bunch of Western European countries. I think it was like France and Netherlands,
Prague.
Czech Republic, and Denmark, I think, Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all just, I mean, we didn't have a ton of time to spend in any of the places, but it was like, as a 16-year-old, getting to see all these different countries was just really a privilege. And then the next year we went to South America, so it was the same thing, just like seeing all these different places I'd never maybe heard about or like known anything about them, but it was like getting a small insight into each of them.
Yeah. So compared to, of course, it's difficult to compare. So what are if people do not know what an orchestra, professional orchestra, entails, and so tell us a little bit, like this August and September, you went to, I would say, 3 countries in Europe: Germany, Austria, and that other country I don't know how to pronounce. The first one, yeah. And so tell us a little bit your experience when you did that tour. Yeah, tell us a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I loved it so much. I guess the most obvious difference was that, I mean, because it's all adults, unless we had a rehearsal or unless we had a concert, they would just let you do whatever you wanted to do. Which, I mean, given that my only experience of touring was either with, a youth orchestra or with school, so we had very regimented, like, controlled schedules. So maybe I only had an hour or two a day to like do my own thing. But on this tour, yeah, if you didn't have a concert that day, you could just spend the whole day just sightseeing by yourself, and meeting people. It was really cool, and a good opportunity for me to meet other people in the orchestra, because I was kind of scared of those like social interactions at first, but they're all very nice.
Yeah, so during the tour, you have chance to see people in a different capacity, like on the plane or waiting for bus, or right, backstage, or sometimes you go out as a group. Okay, whereas you professional orchestra, you go rehearse and you go home, right? And not
Yeah,
a whole.
it's like a job. People have families and their own things they need to do. And even
Yeah.
like me, like not really having anything to do other than rehearsal, like I've still found that, like, yeah, I'm kind of tired and I just want to go home and sleep sometimes after a double rehearsal. So I totally get why people would aren't hanging out that much. But like on the tour, it's like if you're in this different country,
Yeah.
it was a lot of like after every rehearsal or after every night, you would go out to like a bar or something, and so it was really great to just like get to meet so many different people.
And also some privilege you have, which it's kind of interesting, is that the tour schedule is like they made a book, right? Very specific every day, when to get on bus, when to get on plane, who is getting on. You have groups, like the whole orchestra, 100-person people, so you have to group them A, B, C, or whatever. And also you don't have to carry your own instrument. You have a what do you call those things, like a case? What do you call those, like you put an instrument in it?
Yeah, they had a bunch of like traveling luggage with the orchestra, so of course things like percussion instruments where it's just they're huge drums or cymbals.
But as a string player, you don't have to carry your instrument either.
Yeah, so they had also the trunks coming, or
trunk, that's what I meant, trunks, right? Yeah. And also another thing I noticed is that I went to Europe and I saw you maybe saw the 3 concerts, the last 3 concerts. One is in Salzburg, the Salzburg the festival, and also Wiesbaden in Germany. And I also saw your concert in Cologne. That's the last 3 concerts I saw. And you the hotel is, you all stay in maybe 4 or 5-star hotel. Everyone gets their own rooms, right? Own room, and that's kind of a little, very, I don't know, nice treatment. So yeah, and your luggage also, like you don't have to carry your luggage. The people carry your luggage, so that's kind of interesting. So yeah, now before we go on, we were talking about Mr. Bass's, how he was strict, and I'm gonna also play you a very funny excerpts.
Mhm.
And let's see. Oh, okay. So this is the beginning of my beginning of my first documentary. So it's a little bit scratchy. Okay, I only know how to do editing since 2008. So here we go.
Tararam, pum, pum, tararam. Hey, together. 1, 2, 3. What? Sean, I don't have words. How many times do we did? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing like this? Do you remember how to do it? Why you are not doing correctly? Again.
Oh my god, poor kid. So yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, it's pretty
I mean, I
funny.
think it was probably like mildly traumatic, like with studying with him, but I appreciate it now after the fact. Yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
know. Uh, That's the only experience I have of like early stage teaching. But there's gotta, I don't know. Like now that I'm starting to think about teaching myself, it's like I don't really know how to approach like teaching very young kids who don't know much.
Yeah.
Like doing the very basic technique stuff, it seems really really difficult. So
It is. It is very difficult. So I wanted to show people one more excerpt of later on. You you play really well in this video, okay? This is a Schubert B. Let's see. Nice, nice. What do you think when you watch this now?
I don't know. It's very cute. Yeah. But I think that's when I watch that, it's just like if I was only doing that like until now, then I don't think I would have continued because that was just like rote memorizing finger patterns. It was definitely fun playing it like in the moment, but I don't think that sort of like stuff was super appealing to me like long term. Yeah,
Hmm.
it is like fun in the at the moment.
Yeah, but I think Mr. Bass has really set very good foundation for you in terms of left hand and right hand, and you did not have too much like mistakes or bad habits, you know.
Yeah,
And
no.
although later on you studied with Joey, and Joey also was very good. I think musically, Joey was very good, and technically as well. And tell us a little bit about your teacher now, which you have been with for like 5-6 years, Carol Rotland.
Yeah, Carol was it's been really interesting working with her. I really enjoyed it. I think the problem for me with Joey, so yeah, Mr. Boss is the first teacher, and he was very strict, like just technique, groundwork. And then I think with Joey, it was a little bit too soon for me to study with him because he was very like musically open and was wanted to talk about that, but I didn't feel comfortable in my technique, so I just sort of like went down the hill with him a little bit because that's just not what he was focusing on, which is not his problem. But um, I really liked working with Carol because she really like put me back on like a strict like technique diet that I thought I needed from like freshman year on, and I guess it sort of helped that I got hurt in the first year, like my shoulder got hurt, so I couldn't really practice for like 6 or 7 months in the first year at Juilliard. So that just gave me a lot of time to just think about how to play more efficiently, more without pain, to really like take a step back and just approach the instrument from like a ground up approach, like not having to worry about um, meeting any deadlines to play pieces or anything like that. Um, and then because of that work that we did in the first and second year at Juilliard, just really boring. Like I would play scales for like a month straight. I wouldn't play a single piece. Um, like because of that, in the second, third, fourth year, I think I was really able to just like be comfortable playing more so than I was, before in like high school or middle school or anything. Um, yeah.
Would you say that when someone your age or younger, say first year of college, will start to practice, this has to do with one, you have to reply work, right? Weekly lesson. The other is you have recitals, and then recital material you have to prepare. And then I think another is a peer encouragement, peers encouragement, meaning you go to somebody else's recital and somebody else come to your recital. So those kind of relationship and those kind of encouragement, those kind of influence is very important to make yourself grow, right? What do you say?
I think it's just because everybody at Juilliard was just so incredibly talented, beautiful playing. Um, of course, you learn from your teachers, you learn from your professors, but you really, if you go listen to your friends play, you can just see what they're doing, hear how the decisions they're making, and I learned as much, if not more, from them than I did from my professors. Um, and also, yeah, it's like if you want to have people at your audition or at your recital, you need to go and listen to people, um, which one, it helps you, it helps them. It's a a community building thing.
Yeah, very much so. I also need to remember that because you went to King Haven, then you meet these young people. Then those young people say, "Oh, you should audition for New York Youth Orchestra." Then you audition and you got in. By then, you already played the viola, and then you got into national. So it's like a snowball. One organization go to another organization, and you meet more friends, more people, and they give you the tips. So we need to thank them. Now, in terms of, I wanted to ask you a little bit about now, currently, how do you prepare when you play with a professional orchestra? Will you have piece, say next, like I noticed that like yesterday, you took me to a spa and we all like relax, and you're at one moment you were looking at your what do you call iPad, and you're studying actually. So tell us a little bit about how your work ethic is.
Yeah, I think it's kind of bad, but I never really, practiced orchestra pieces before. Like when I was in school, maybe I would look at it for a couple days before, a cycle started if I was sitting high enough in the in the order. But it wasn't something that I was really focused on, given that there was so much like solo and chamber stuff that I had to do. Um, if anything, I focused on excerpts, which was like what you play for auditions, and over the years, like you learn small bits and things about how to practice those. But in terms of actually practicing whole orchestra pieces, I really didn't have a full idea of how to do that until maybe last year, or the year before. My current strategy I try to do is like I try to listen to the piece a lot before I start practicing. So we get the parts from the orchestra right now. They already have all the bones and stuff in them, but I want to know what the tempos are relatively for each section. So I want to listen to the piece a bunch of times with the parts and also with the score, so that I'll know like if there's any parts I need to look out for before I start practicing. And then when I actually do start practicing, I already have all the tempos marked in it, so that when it's when I play the piece, it's not like a surprise or anything. Especially if there's like a change or anything in the middle of the movement where it's not so clear, like on the part. So it's just trying to remove as much like surprise as I can from like that first rehearsal. Like, you want to know the piece as well as you can.
Yeah. Now, I remember when you were preparing audition for Pittsburgh, and we made a recording, and that was like a very long. So I find just the one section of how you practice, and let's see if I have here. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So this was like a really long 24-minute of you play straight of the material for Pittsburgh. And here we're just preparation. Yeah, this is Ravel, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. Very good. Now, since we're already here, let's see. Let me take this down, and then I'm gonna show. Now, I just wanted to tell people a little bit. Some people here are not professional or musicians. So when you audition, you play excerpts, meaning important symphonic excerpts. Sometimes that's a very standard, like this Ravel is standard, and then you have Strauss, Dan Huang, then you have Mozart Symphony number 35, Beethoven number 5, or a whole list. So you really have to know all of them like inside out and memorize it actually. So that's better. But then you also have to play solo. So this piece is a classical viola piece, which Sean played very well. Classical era, meaning similar to Mozart style, and very squared, very symmetrical style or formality. Yeah. So this is Sean played this. He actually made this tape to audition. I think you made this tape audition for the Pittsburgh, right? I think. Yeah. Okay. So you played really well. This is the cadenza, I believe.
Yikes.
Is it a cadenza? Let me see. Nice. Very nice. Yeah. So now let's talk about something else. Um, do you remember people say I'm a tiger mother? So how do you remember? Was I really a tiger mother, or was I making you practice? Do you remember anything?
Oh yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I wanted to practice when I was younger. Yeah, so it was definitely like I'm doing it by threat of whatever. Like I said, it was only until I was like 14 or 15 that I like started to want to do it for myself. So I think up until then it was all like 90% of it was maybe from you. So.
I remember I stay home. I don't have a 9 to 5 job, so I wait for you to come home around 4 or 3:30, or I go pick up you, right? Pick you up, and then so it's like I would expect you to practice afterwards. Well, first of all, you have to eat something, then you have to go to the bathroom, and then you're hungry, and all of these things happen. So eventually, we made a rule. We'll say, how about we start to practice at 5 p.m., so you can do all these things before. Yeah. So I don't know if it worked. I don't remember, but for those of you parents and those of you who are learning music instrument, probably it's a good idea to set a fixed time. Then you stick with it. You know what I mean? It could be 10 a.m. in the morning. You just practice 1 hour, right? It could be, I don't know. Don't practice when you're too tired, right? Don't, like, after dinner, it will be too tired. So find a time is reasonable and stick with it. Yeah. So yeah. Time is almost up to. So I would like to open the uh, what do you call? Open the audience for people. If you have any questions for Sean, Elizabeth, Nora, hi, how are you? And Mark and Nora, thank you, Nora. By the way, today is my birthday, so I asked Sean to do this for me. He's not crazy about being in the public eye, so so he's not like his mother. Anyway, so anybody have any questions? And I want to thank Lewis and thank Nora and thank Claudia as Sean's aunt, and Colette, and who else? Lucy. And thank you guys for being here with us. And it meant a lot. And Nick Riviera, and want to see more. So let's see if someone have any questions for Sean. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah. Now, if you don't have any questions, I wanted to ask Sean one more question. Is Sean, you're such a accomplished, I would say, violist and musician, and you also like other things. When you are younger, you were a very good gamer, like video gamer, and I hate that. You spend so much time playing video game. Do you think playing video game has any relevance for being a good musician in a good positive way?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's like at least the games that I would play were very intense. Like you have to have, I don't know, like hand-eye coordination, think about like strategy, things like that. Yeah, it took a lot of time. It was like basically a second job. Like if I didn't play 2 hours a day, I would like get bad at the game. So um, it took a lot of effort and time. So I don't really miss that part of it, but I do miss the fun of it. But like I'll play games like once or twice, like a week or a month now. But it's like I'm so bad that it's different like type of enjoyment out of it.
But you were very good, because your best friend told me, said Sean is about like 5, 5 steps or whatever, 5. I just remember 5% of becoming a professional gamer, and then you didn't continue, thank God. And also, what made you to like cooking and pursue cooking?
Yeah, that was well, I think first of all, the gaming thing was probably a bit of an overstatement. I think I was very good, but not like you. It's like 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 you're in the NFL or NBA or something. Like to be that a professional gamer, you have to be that good. I don't think I was quite there yet. Um, but cooking was something I'd always maybe had like a cursory interest in over the years, like watching maybe some videos on YouTube or whatever. But um, over the pandemic, like COVID years when I was living at home, well, all the restaurants shut down for a couple months in New York, and I still wanted to eat like yummy, complicated restaurant food. So I started watching a lot of like uh, YouTube videos about cooking, technique cooking, and started trying out some stuff for you guys at home because we could still buy groceries pretty easily. And I think I liked the process of getting towards a delicious meal, and realize that a lot of the components of it are not that difficult in terms of like you just need to know a couple basic techniques, and then you can really go a long way as long as you can read a recipe or something. Um, and it's nice to be able to make that sort of food very easily at home now. Like I don't really have to think about too much when I cook. So unless I'm trying to do something new that I haven't done before, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, we're very lucky to have you, and because you with Sean, it's not like me. I would go buy food. I can cook for 2 weeks or three. Sean goes to buy food just for one meal, and then you cook for that one meal. So very gourmetish way of approach. Now you also became a barista, a coffee maker. So how did that come?
Yeah, that was, I mean, probably a mistake to spend that much money on that equipment, but it was the same thing. Like, I just started watching YouTube videos of people who were very into coffee during the pandemic, and I had some money lying around, so I just started to get into espresso at like a basic level. And I remember I went to a coffee shop before I bought the machine to try to like have an espresso before I pulled the trigger on like the expensive equipment, and it was disgusting. It was like the most bitter, like just gross little espresso drink I'd ever had, and I gave up on the dream for like 2 weeks until I started watching more videos and realized it maybe wasn't supposed to be like that. I think maybe that was just an off day for that barista. They pulled a bad shot. So it's the same thing. It's like I think now I just sort of enjoy coffee for the process. I don't really like people who are maybe too like pedantic or too like elitist about it, because like I think you can get a really good coffee with just really basic equipment, but with the espresso machine I have at home now, it's just some kind of fun thing that I like to do on the weekends. Um, I have a little notebook where I keep all the weights and measurements for the coffee going in and out to try to keep it consistent, but it's not something that I like am so like rigorous about as I was maybe when I first started. It's just like I want to make a good cup of coffee, and then the quickest, easiest way to get to that.
And yeah, so do you write note because you want to see in the end the results, or do you like do you read your old notes to do things better? What's the whole purpose of writing notes?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I used to do like specific tasting note. What every time I would buy a new coffee, I would write down where I got it from, the date that it was roasted, exactly what it was, and then I would write down each time I made a shot of espresso, like say what the weight of the coffee going in was, what the size of the coffee was that I ground it to, and then what the weight of the coffee coming out with the water was, because that's basically how you control, the taste of the espresso is like how finely you grind it. So if you make it finer, the water takes longer to go through the puck of espresso, and maybe it'll leach out more yummy flavors to a point where it'll start to get sour. It's really complicated. But anyway, like, the reason I write down the measurements is so that I know what I need to do for the next time, in terms of like, if I bought the same coffee 2 months later, I have a list of like, okay, this is what worked the last time I had this. So when I'm trying to recreate that coffee, I have a baseline measurement of where to start. And I don't really like do it too strenuously now. It's just like the weight in, the weight out, and then the grind size to just make it consistent. So.
That's very impressive. Very impressive. Now, Dad and I, we went to see you during Thanksgiving time, and you made us a very yummy breakfast. I want to show. It's very short.
Oh yeah, the French toast.
Have you seen this one? Oh, you're making French toast.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Oh. That's a lot of what? Cinnamon, right?
I mean, I don't know. It's probably too much, but I kind of like it. Like very, very cinnamony.
We have an in-house chef. So, Sean, special kind of bread? If you're going to,
it's just like a brioche loaf from a bakery, like down the street.
Not from like a supermarket, from a special bakery.
Yeah, it's called Mancini. Well, it's not that I wouldn't buy a supermarket loaf. It's just that they cut it beforehand, and I want it to be thicker, so I have to go to a bakery to get it.
So there is a whole playlist of Sean cooking and playing and all kind of things, so you can watch on my YouTube channel. By the way, if you have not subscribed my channel, please do so. If you're gonna see lots of short videos, long videos, and performance.
Yeah, the reason that you can make French toast just fine on the stovetop, like it's good.
It should still be like soft and
But
fluffy inside.
if you just do it lightly on the stovetop and then you do it in the oven,
You like it?
and
Okay.
you sort of get the outside crispy, but you leave the inside still pretty moist. Like it's not dry or anything. So
Okay.
it just takes way longer than it would. So it's, if you don't have time, you just make it on the stove.
Yes. Awesome. So, Claudia looks yummy. And so before we end, do you have any advice for young people like you want to become a professional musician?
Yeah, I think it's not like it was just a straight path upwards. I mean, I definitely had my ups and downs, some very hard moments, like especially like when I got hurt. Freshman year, I had to stop playing for 6 or 7 months while every single one of my friends was like, increasing and getting really much better at a really fast rate. It was really kind of depressing to be in that position, and I think there were a couple moments where I considered just like quitting altogether, just because it was like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what. I don't see a path forward. And then over COVID, like I didn't practice like well for maybe 4 months straight because it was just like really suffocating to be alone again and just try to like get work done without a consistent goal or something. So it was really like spending time with other people, like my age, who really loved music and who wanted, who I could see in them, where it was like an example of how do you practice, how do you love what you do, how do you do it well. really spending time around other people, other kids, was what, has kept me going to the place that I was now. Yeah. So I don't know, just like try to do as many like social music making things as you can, because that's the whole point, right? Is
Mhm.
to play music with other people. I'm not really interested in just doing it by myself.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, Sean, we are at the end of our talk, and thank you so much for tolerating your mom. And it's my my day, so you better be nice to me. And oh, by the way, Sean also speaks Chinese. Yeah. 那要不要我来做一个rapid fire？要不要？
用中文说话。
用中文说啊？中文说他们听不懂。Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I just asked him if I should do a rapid fire. So should I do it? All right, I'll do it very quickly. Okay, just a few questions. So you are reading a lot. What book you're reading right now you would recommend people?
I mean, I'm reading a book I really like right now, but I don't know if I'd recommend it to people.
Why are you reading something you don't like?
I like it, but I don't think it's called Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger, and it's like a World War I memoir. But unless you want to be really depressed about like human suffering, I wouldn't read it.
So if I take you to a theater tonight or tomorrow night, which movie would you pick?
I want to see The Whale or Avatar, but Avatar 2. But I've heard kind of mixed things about Avatar, so maybe The Whale.
What do you see yourself in 1 year or 2 years?
I think I see myself still in Pittsburgh, hopefully having done well, maybe a little bit more stable. Yeah, I think I can see myself there for a while.
What kind of food genre did you like the most? I know you're a foodie.
I mean, it's always like Italian food, but honestly, like Korean food is like one of my favorites. And it's kind of sad that there's not a lot of Korean food in Pittsburgh. Like there's some like pretty okay Chinese and Japanese, but Korean is just not really a thing there. So it's like every time I come back to New York, I want to eat a lot of Korean food.
Yeah, I used to say you need to make a lot of money because you have high standard of shopping. You used to own like a same sneaker. You have to buy different colors. Are you still this way right now?
The sneakers are behind me. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cringe looking back at how much money I spent on sneakers that I just didn't really like that much, and I would like blow my entire savings like on like one pair of sneakers or something. So I'm definitely trying to be more conservative now with like spending and saving.
How do you furnish your apartment? Do you buy everything new?
No, I think everything except the bed frame was pre-owned. And
That's not true. You bought a very expensive garbage can.
Oh, that one, yeah, the garbage. The garbage can and the bed frame were the only things I got new. I had
mattress new.
And mattress, sure,
Yeah.
but everything else I tried to find on Marketplace or through Craigslist, because I wanted to get like nice quality stuff, but I didn't have the money to pay for like actual stuff from like West Elm or anything. So I was able to find a lot of really good deals. The only thing is it took forever. So like for 2 months, I was just sleeping on the floor, like on a mattress, just straight on the floor with like not a single, furniture item in the entire house. But it's slowly getting there.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Sean. I think we are going out tonight, and thank you for being with us, and thank all our friends here being with us, and really appreciate you. So we're gonna hopefully. Are you guys coming to New York, Pittsburgh Symphony next year?
Yeah, Nespresso is actually pretty good also. Sorry, I just saw all these comments.
Oh, A bogey garbage can. Is that what you get?
I think I got a simple human.
He got a garbage can almost $300. It's crazy. Yeah, and so yeah, we're going to have dinner, and thank you so much. Do we have any questions here or just comment? Yeah, thanks a lot. And yeah, by the way, look at some of the video here, and yeah, it's if I just ask people to subscribe my channel, it's not good, you know. People have to watch my film. By the way, my Young Gun Diary, my feature documentary right now is on Tubi TV, TUBI TV, so you can watch it for free. All right, thank you so much, Nora. Where are you going for dinner? Where are we going for dinner, Sean?
We're going to a Chinese hot pot restaurant because that's like her favorite food. So it's, I think, down Chinatown or something. So
Yeah, it's in Chinatown, closer. It's like between Chinatown and, I don't know, East Village. Wash hands, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.
all right, thank you.
Bye now.